Welcome to the Political Matrix News.
They got access to the kid's phone.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
You got okay. You're joining us right in the middle here. This is the Political Matrix News. Rob Milford in Orlando, Scott Miller in Pensacola, Greg Fink in Gainesville, and you can acknowledge everybody, Greg. It's okay. Close enough.
Thank you so much, Rob.
All right, so we've got a lot of a hodgepodge, a cornucopia of topics to handle in no particular order. It is the first night. We're doing this on Monday, the 15th. It is the day after Bastille Day. It is Mac McAnally's birthday. Mac is, 67 years old today, and he and the Coral Reefers are going to keep going till there are no more Coral Reefers, I think. The Republican convention is underway, night number one, and I will tell you my first take. I have switched around to 4 different networks, and you know what you don't see? Anybody on stage saying anything. You see them, and their lips are moving, and you hear the crowd cheering, and that's it. You have no idea who these people are, and the networks are putting them off to the side, like a side box here, and you have the same talking heads talking about the same crap that they were talking about last week, and you just, well, obviously topic number one is the shooting, and we'll get to that coming up in just a bit.
Right.
But on Sunday night, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, addressed the nation from the Oval Office, 6-7 minutes long. And this is the one particular quote that stuck with everybody with what the president said. And in saying we need to tone it down, great, okay, fine, Joe, no problem at all. And then he does a softball interview with Lester Holt of NBC on Monday. And let's see what he said to Lester less than 24 hours later.
Let's talk about the conversation this has started, and it's really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat. On a call a week ago, you said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term was bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. There's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said, I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said that one accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus was on what he's saying, and the idea.
But have you taken a step back and done a little soul searching on things that you may have said that could incite people who are not balanced?
Well, I don't think, look, how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody? Look, I've not engaged in that rhetoric. Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses, talking about how he's going to forgive all those, suspend the sentences of all those who were arrested and sentenced to go to jail because of what happened in the Capitol. I'm not out there making fun of, remember the picture of Donald Trump when Nancy Pelosi's husband was hit with a hammer, joking about it?
Right. Okay. Yeah. This is the politician talking out of both sides of his freaking mouth. And if you wanted the perfect example, this is it right here. It doesn't get any simpler than that. He had somebody write his script. He knew what the questions today on Monday were going to be in advance, like he knows every other interview. Seriously, he does. And he'd been briefed on this. So there you go. There's Joe Biden. And the other thing I want to mention is that MSNBC, probably the leading hate machine against Donald Trump, actually had the good sense to pull our very own buddy Joe Scarborough and his bimbo wife, Mika Brzezinski, off the air on Monday, knowing they would say something that would piss a lot of people off, except if you were a regular MSNBC viewer. And in that case, you would be cheering them on. Yeah. Trump caused this. Hey, payback for January 6th, man.
Yeah.
Well, so they've inconvenienced probably what 2-3 dozen people.
Exactly. And some staff. I mean, the whole reality here is that, they're going to give Joe a pass about what he said to his donors last week about putting Trump in a bullseye. And then he says that, Trump gets shot. Then he says, let's tone down the rhetoric. Then we have another interview today where he doubles down and says he meant to say crosshairs.
I mean, it's a distinction without a difference, and it's really the epitome of the gaslighting of America that the Democrats have been involved with for the last 8 years, where they constantly provoke us and provoke us and provoke us, and then when something horrible happens, it's like, well, you people need to be a little more calm.
I mean, and then he says, Lester, you have to understand, bullseye and crosshairs means to focus on somebody. Focus on Trump. But I don't think I need to, it's really hard for me to change my rhetoric against a person who thinks America is evil, who wants to keep attacking America and changing America. And so he basically flipped. It's worse than John Kerry's flipping, John Kerry was a flip-flop in 2004. This is the major flip-flop. I mean,
agreed.
He's only spoken for the Oval Office 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to lie his ass off on the third one.
Yep. He didn't tone anything down. I'm just astounded. Now, I will tell you that we understand that President Biden called President Trump. I believe he was still at the hospital. Maybe he was on the way out. And they spoke on Saturday night. And it was President Trump said, a good conversation. It was very nice of him to call. Okay. Very civil, very polite. Man, we're really sorry that what happened, dude. I don't know. What would you say?
He doesn't remember it.
Probably not, but we move on with that. I think that when you have MSNBC promulgating this hate against Donald Trump day in and day out, he's a Nazi. Okay. And, people, have you ever looked at what Nazis did? You want me to look at the picture of the 89 U.S. servicemen who were machine gunned by the SS, all Nazis, by the way, during the Battle of the Bulge. I think it was Malmedy, Belgium. The bodies were found when the snow melted a month or so later. Massacre, just shot them. They were POWs. They were unarmed. They had surrendered. Let's just shoot them. Those are Nazis. Donald Trump hadn't machine gunned anybody, not a single person. And we've looked.
He hasn't even suggested it.
No, but he's a Nazi. And he's a racist, too, because he's a Republican. And he's a homophobe. And he's a xenophobe.
He's everything they want to be.
Yeah.
Every nickname they got.
The more this goes on, the more I view the Democrats as the threat to democracy. In other words, it's the pot calling the kettle black.
Right.
Except the Democrats.
Wait, is that racist?
Let me think. I didn't say African American. It's just black is a difference without a distinction, as someone recently said. I just don't get it. And Biden is normally in normal political years, the sitting president or the other party shuts up for the 4 days of the other convention. Apparently, that deal is off. And we understand Biden has a couple of appearances, so much of a campaign, I guess, this week. Anything to distract from the Republican convention. And by the way, as we do this, Donald Trump is officially the Republican presidential nominee. They did that a little earlier this evening, and it's pretty damn cool. Now he is the nominee. Not possible.
He's the only third person to be nominated 3 times.
Okay.
From the Republican Party. Republican Party, yeah.
Okay.
Nixon was nominated 3 times.
60, 68, 72, yeah.
Right, and then Trump. I don't know. They mentioned, I don't know if it was Reagan. No, Reagan wasn't nominated 3 times. I don't know who the other person was, but they said he's a third one. So,
well, wasn't Teddy Roosevelt, and it wasn't William McKinley, was it? because McKinley was the other guy who had the job twice, right?
Right. Yeah.
And he had the good fortune to get shot the second time around. Actually, it would have been McKinley. McKinley was a Republican. He got nominated 3 times, gets killed. Roosevelt gets the gig. Yeah, that's
right. Yeah.
Okay. So that's now we know.
A little bit of history today.
Yeah, a lot of history today. A lot of history.
Yeah.
But before we get too far away from this convention thing, it's worth noting that the Antifa protesters are just a block and a half away.
Yeah,
and it's and they've the liberal media. I listen to NPR for half the day just to keep tabs on what the extreme left is saying. And one of the recurring talking points was the fact that Wisconsin is an open carry state. So
really?
Yeah, and they were talking about how they're having to deal with that. And the mayor of the mayor got up and said that that while they would have liked to have passed some sort of ordinance to kind of restrict gun carry around this event, the state law trumps any of the local laws. So we're just going to deal with what we got to deal with.
He's a Democrat.
I wouldn't be very surprised at all to see some provocative actions from these Antifa people against anyone that they see carrying a gun.
And it's interesting because he's actually a Democrat mayor.
Yeah, let me address that. I was at the Democratic Convention in Boston in 2004 when Kerry got nominated. Of course, Boston, Massachusetts boy, John F. Kerry. I got that, and they had you were cleared back 2 blocks at least from where they were holding the convention, and that's pretty reasonable. I saw pictures a moment ago of President Trump's motorcade leaving his hotel to go to the convention, and I saw all of the necessary things, including big old dump trucks loaded down. So if somebody wanted to ram a car bomb or truck bomb through, it wouldn't happen.
Right.
They backed that stuff up 3 blocks at least. There is really no open carry or not. There is, I don't think, any danger of somebody taking some shots.
No! You see, they don't have to do this versus the president. All they have to do is get some Trump supporters who are armed to do anything, to react in any way that looks like with a gun. And now they've got in their mind they can take control of the narrative, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for an opportunity to take control of the narrative. This may not happen, but I promise you, it's something that's contemplated. Because they do have to take back the narrative.
The one thing I hope is that the media is not going to, after what's happened this last weekend, hopefully the media is going to start wising up. I think first, okay.
Sorry, okay. Now that dog ain't going to. Okay, media is not going to wise up. The Democrat talking point is still, and I get this on everything. Oh, well, you watch Fox all the time. You're freaking brainwashed, and I'm like. No, I actually worked for Fox, and when I did the news for Fox, I got it right. No one ever had to come on the air and correct my stuff. No one had to issue apologies for my stuff. I gave it straight, period, end of story. That includes all of Hurricane Katrina, all of it, and followed that with the Iraqi elections in the fall of 2005. And
but wait a minute, you work for Fox, didn't you also work for CBS?
I did prior to that, you bet.
How does that work?
Well, because next.
Well, I'm just saying. You go from this massive liberal news machine to this conservative news machine. How could that possibly work? Because at the time you were being honest.
It's like Chris Wallace going from Fox to CNN.
Yeah. I just saw Cuomo is on NewsNation. That's WGN out of Chicago, right?
Yeah, they're actually WGN owns the NewsNation, but they're kind of trying to become the next new Fox News.
They're trying to forget they got everybody that got fired from the other networks. There's Cuomo, there's Ed Henry, there's
there's Leland Vitter.
I mean,
Vitter.
I don't him too. I can't pronounce.
Steinhaus.
Good, keep going.
There's
going.
That's about
wait a minute. Ready? Bill O'Reilly and Geraldo Rivera were sharing the screen with Cuomo. Nobody could get a word in. Nobody. So.
And also the press secretary from Trump. who was his name? The first press secretary that Trump had. He's also on NewsNation.
No, I know the guy you're talking about. I can see his face plain as day. I just can't read his name.
Not Sarah Huckabee, because she was on.
No,
she has a job now. All right.
No, it was the guy.
We will think of who that is while we take a break. This is the Political Matrix News. Rob, Scott, and Greg. Don't forget to like us, share us, follow us, fondle us, squeeze us. Are there buttons for that too? Thanks for joining us on the Political Matrix News.